Common Sense Media activated.
Live from the 210, it's the Wave of the Few Short Show, and we are your hosts, Mr. Tre M. Carr, and I am E. James.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Wave of the Few Shore, where we navigate the waters of life. If you'll notice, we are one down, but we are two strong. So, let's start off with that. Shout out to E. James. He is going to be working behind the scenes for a couple weeks, if not months. We're not quite sure yet. Going to see how it all goes, but this is a great exercise for me and Trey to drive this boat. So,
yeah, man. I'm excited to, get on the bus, but we do miss you, E, man. It's a little weird.
Hey, it's fine. I mean, like, Professor X wasn't in every X-Men comic, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you there.
But when he was, for the listener, I just touched my temples like I was Mega Man, nowhere near Professor X. Anyways.
I got the juice. We got the juice.
Yeah, dude, miss you, buddy. But we're gonna say thank y'all to everybody listening right now. We're trying a few things, so we just want to see whatever feedback we can get off these kinds of episodes. We're trying a couple things. We're going to be doing some experiments, so we're going to be very welcome and very open to feedback. With that being said, our topics tonight are in need of a hero, and that hero is dad mode, because it seems like our childhoods have just been cracked open like Easter eggs and spread out on a frying pan or something.
Yeah, man, it's been hard to watch some of this stuff, man. That's unraveled over the last few weeks. My heart hurts just thinking back to those times, and now it's a totally different vibe.
It's not hard to watch, man. It's just junk food for your mind, but still, you go back and think about all these things.
Hard to think about, man. You go back and, or if you watch some of that stuff, well, I mean, we'll dive into it here in a little bit, but man, the childhood definitely has a different light on it. The slime green is definitely a different green for me now, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, the limelight ain't so limey. But yeah, we'll talk about Quiet on Set, the hit documentary series coming out right now through Discovery ID, I think.
Yeah.
And all the revelations that the Nickelodeon cast and crew have come forth with. But before we do any of that, I'm going to ask you, how you doing, Trey? How was your Easter?
No, it was pretty good, man. Pretty good Easter. Real relaxed for me. My wife's birthday was a couple days before. Happy birthday, Dirty 30. She's getting on up there too. So really, weekend was centered around that. Some dinners, some, just making the wife happy for a couple of days. Really, the only thing we did on Easter was get my kid outside. She's finally mastering no training wheels on her bike, riding a two-wheeler around, getting comfortable there. So that's really all we did, man. But doesn't nearly kind of live up to your weekend, I think.
Yeah, we thought we were going to both be in Houston, but it ended up just being me and my girl. Went to go catch my first MLB game, so that was opening weekend with the Astros and the New York Yankees. It was cool. Shout out to the city of Houston. It seems like it's all mad love when you go to the games. Everybody's cool. Everybody's having a great time. I got my first MLB seventh inning stretch. That was awesome. That was super cool. Just had a hot dog, had a couple beers.
Yes, sir.
It was good, man. I loved it. And
that's good.
My girl got what she wanted because she's a dang old Yankees fan. So
that hurts me.
Shout out, baby. I love you. But
H-Town, hold it down, maybe go Stros.
Yeah, I bought a hat.
Start to the season.
Yeah, I bought a baseball hat. I got a Houston
hat.
Nice.
You got a little Stros hat, baby. Yeah,
all blackout. Yeah, hell yeah.
There you go. Represent, man. What kind of beer do you have down there, man? They still got it's been a minute. They still got the brewery in there with
yeah, they got Carbach.
Carbach,
and then Crawford Bach on deck. But I got a what I got a Pacifico, and then I had to make my michelada with a Pacifico.
Oh, yeah, I can't ever go wrong with a good michelada.
Oh, man. Yeah, and the dude hooked it up.
You're a good michelada.
Yeah, hell yeah, it was so good. The dude hooked it up with the chamoy for my girls, ranch water, too. Everybody was cool. I got a pretzel. I got some Bluebell ice cream. I was just wilding, dude. I was celebrating because it
Were
was.
you eating like nachos out of a baseball helmet, or
I saw that, dude. I wanted to, but I had the hot dog. My girl got nachos, but she didn't get the baseball hat. She just got the basic nachos because she gave up meat
Yeah,
for
I
Lent
get
and
it.
all that stuff. They weren't gonna deluxe it up for
true.
her.
Oh man, that's so close to the end of that too.
Yeah,
It's like one more day, and you could have went all out.
she could have had it all, but
And she got her win. She can take that and run with it. And that's enough. After losing to the Astros year after year in the postseason, I guess the Yankees can start off with a win to start their season. We'll see if they still got it going come October, though.
we'll see. I don't know. It was like 4 wins, man. Let's not beat
Yeah,
around
they
the
did
bush.
sweep them. Yeah, they swept them. But again, it's the first series of the year, baby. It's a long year with baseball, 162 games.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be following as much as I can. Nothing like hearing the crack of a bat in a stadium, dude.
Yeah, man.
Best feeling in the world. I
Yeah,
want to see
there's
that dude in
nothing
the
like
train go off. Man, he didn't go off. He was just hyping up, and we didn't get that home run. So
Nah, that's what it is, man. What that ended up being 3-6 or 3-5. That game ended up being something
Yeah,
like
it
that. They
was-
were up too early. The Stros, and they
yeah,
let them come back.
yeah, they just let him hit homers, dude. I was like, oh man, yeah, but it's all right. It is what it is. It was for my
I'm
girl.
glad you had a good time though, man. Like I said, H-Town, hold it down, man. It's nothing like the city of Houston when the Astros were playing, man. If you didn't know, I lived there for probably about 7-8 years. That's where I met my wife, so I know a lot about that city and downtown Houston.
Yeah, I'm down to go again. It's gonna be a cool thing. I'm gonna see if I can catch some more games. Doesn't have to be
Let me
Yankees,
know,
though.
man, if you
Yeah.
want to plan something up, man.
Yeah,
I'd be
dude.
down.
For
I'd
sure.
definitely be down. We can go do that.
Yeah, that'd be tight, man. But yeah, there was that, and it was an adventurous weekend. It was an overdue Valentine's Day gift. I got the little one her overdue Valentine's or her birthday present. That was my dog. Dog's in the room. She's flapping her ears, trying to fly away. Yeah, I got the little one her first pair of Doc Martens. So
Oh yeah.
it was an emotional thing. Like the 2 goth girls at the counter were like, "I remember when I got my first Docs."
Cherish these.
Yeah, she was like, "Cherish
You'll
these,"
never
like,
forget
yeah.
these moments.
Yeah, whatever, man. She just put them on and she just like strutted in them. She was like, "All right, let's go." I was like, "Okay."
She clopping around the house, dude, in those docks, just making all the noise with the footsteps, heavy footed,
Yeah.
moving around.
Yeah, I told her to do that so she could break them in because Docs are hard, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, she seemed very overjoyed. That was the first thing she like gravitated to the Journey kids. So,
Nice.
couldn't be any prouder. I'm gonna make that little kid
Nah,
a
man.
goth kid. It's gonna suck.
There you go. Just get her through that phase now before she gets like the teenage years. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
let's get it over early. Everybody goes through it. The earlier the better, in my opinion.
Well, that's what you wanted, but yeah, those pretty happy moments, and then Easter, of course, was good too. So I'm glad we both had a great weekend. Got a
man.
lot of time to reflect on life and how precious it is, and honestly, getting stuck to the TV when you don't have any other time to watch these revelations, man.
Man, dude, these revelations are heavy, man. Like we said, that Quiet on Set documentary that came out, it was shocking to say the least. They're 4 episodes in. I didn't know how many. You said there were going to be 6 episodes of this.
Yeah.
All together, right?
Yeah, it was like indexed to 6, so I'm like, what?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see what comes, but I do want to take some time, break down the first 4 and those, that light that was shed on this side of the industry. It's a crazy thing, man, when you kind of think about it.
Yeah, it's no secret that child actors have it probably the worst in Hollywood. It's just putting it into the context, putting faces and people and names and situations to all that just really opens your eyes, and it makes you feel like bad. But I don't know, we were just kids, right? We were just the same little kids watching like Snick on Saturday, eating junk food, watching the TV, and then like watching all that. Shout out to all that. Shout out to all the characters and actors that have, lived rent free in my mind. For
Yeah, just thinking of things I know one of them, they showed the sugar and coffee skit that they were doing and all that, and like little things like that just it just brings back like, oh my gosh, your eyes open up like, wow, I forgot about that, but I remember it so vividly now that you bring it up.
Yeah.
And then you learn that the creator behind that mega hit TV show, as he described it, the Saturday Night Live for kids, which I never really thought about, but it makes so much sense. That kind of open skit type of comedy was so just dirty, man.
Yeah, it was a little exploitative, exploitative. I don't know how to pronounce that, but yeah, there was some definite exploitation going on. But that's like the 90s and the 80s and all that stuff too. Like they weren't sensitive to human psychology, like traumatizing kids.
That's very true.
Like child labor laws, all that stuff. Like while it was in place, I think that was kind of the culture back then, just to rub some dirt on it and call it a day when you're a kid. Like, I mean, we come from the generation of like right after latchkey kids, so like we were kind of left to our own devices and stuff, and seeing those same people on TV or the same young people on TV like makes us like reflect like, oh, it's so cool, it must be great. But yeah, we had stuff like the On Air Dare, which is like Kid Fear Factor, which was terrible.
Yeah, that was
like, shout out to that poor kid that got the peanut butter situation. Like,
that was ridiculous, man. And then you think about things, or you look back at those type of things as an adult, man. You're like, what is going on? But as a kid, when you watch that, it's just it's funny, it's wacky, it's quirky, it's out of the box, it's what you want to watch, as a kid, things that you can never do, you're watching on TV, man. The biggest kind of start to that, man, those two female writers, I feel for them, Christy Stratton and Jenny Killigan, I can't remember exactly, man, but the way they had them splitting and sharing salaries for I can't remember how many seasons. I don't know if it was the first one or both the first and the second season of that show. Just little things like that are happening behind the scenes as you look back, and as an adult, you're like, man, it's just, I mean, of course, with the kids, we'll dive into the trauma that they had to go through, but just even as an adult in a workplace environment, it's ridiculous that you would think about that or put people through that. It shows how far women in the industry have come.
Yeah, it started from the top down, man, and I think it was mainly targeted towards like women and young girls and young men too. We'll get into that in a bit. Dang. Okay. But yeah, you're right. The two writers like having to split duties. Like I think the show became a smash hit, and then the creator, old Danny boy, decided to kind of flex his muscle around Nickelodeon and start kind of weeding out people that weren't really a part of his stable. And that's not cool, man, because people were put out of work. I mean, there was lawsuits, there was a little bit of justice served, maybe a settlement. I don't really know the details about that, but I mean, there was also that editor. Remember the editor that said she had to go to the hospital and she was still keeling over and still trying to edit and stuff.
Still trying to edit the show, trying to get it out. And then when she was like on her way to the hospital, the only thing that was settled was like, well, who's gonna finish the show? Like, not, are you okay? Take the time you need. And I know Hollywood is a grind. I mean, when you're looking back at those things and the effort that it takes into a full-scale, multi-million-dollar production to get things out is, it's probably one of the hardest working jobs. I mean, I'm not going to say hardest working jobs, but you're working long hours. You're sitting there for 12, 16 hours trying to edit stuff. And just there was not a whole lot of care. There was a great lack of care for those employees behind the scenes, from the writers to the producers to the actors and actresses that were the ones that we were looking up to as kids, from the top down. I was watching SpongeBob with my kid the other day, and it was an episode where Sandy like hibernates and they get stuck in her little bubble.
Yeah. She looked all wild.
They're like, and they're like, they get her fur and they're like, I'm Dirty Dan. No, I'm Dirty Dan.
Oh, I never thought about that.
And like now I know,
oh my god,
like who was Dirty Dan?
Oh my god,
like who were they really talking about? Like you think like what do they call it in the rap? Sneak dissing, like in the rap game. You think the creators of SpongeBob are sneak dissing Dan Schneider?
Yeah, they're like oh my god, they were like rivals in every sense too, with ratings and all that jazz. So.
Yeah, who's really running the network? There, so I'm just like, man, and now all this stuff comes out, and you're like, man, okay, so maybe there was something to that. It's ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous, man.
Yeah, I think the puzzle pieces are starting to fit together a lot, and it's damn, dude, that's our childhood, Marsh. Like,
that's the point, man. That's what we grew up on, and it was so dirty for lack of better words. Like now I just feel dirty thinking about it, that I enjoyed it so much. I took great pleasure in Nickelodeon, man. It was channel 99 in my,
Bro,
you know,
yeah, slime green for life. Like, look at this,
yeah,
like
that's
Like I still wait to get slimed at every situation, every room I walk. I check for the bucket, dude. Like I want to get slimed, bro. Like
it was a goal of mine, man. How do I get slimed? How do I get me one of them orange blimps and get covered in slime? Like that was a goal.
Was Nick Cannon gonna hand me an orange blimp, and then when am I gonna get?
Man, but like now you look at it and you go through and you look into the, you know, the next piece. You got when they really start kind of diving into the stars and the I don't want to call them inappropriate relationships that Dan Schneider had with the cast, but they definitely weren't normal.
Yeah, they're inappropriate adjacent, and that's still pretty bad for kids. Like there's child labor laws for a reason. I mean, there's all these stops in place to like dissuade people from exploiting kids working in Hollywood, but it seems like the culture at Nickelodeon on Sunset was just kind of work hard, let Dan run the show, you know?
And there's a lot of things that were disturbing to me in that fact, like I can't remember the name of the child actor, but his mom was a little too...
Dude, she cared.
Hands-on. You know, she cared, exactly. She cared, and it cost him his job.
And the relationship.
I mean, you're 12, 13, but in all, it cost a relationship between him and his mother because he felt like she was the one that got him kicked off of that show, when in reality, she was just trying to protect her son. And look out in his best interest and make sure he's not getting taken advantage of or put into a negative light. Like when he was, you know, selling whatever it was that he had under his coat.
Girl Scout cookies.
Like, oh, the black,
like
the black guy's got to be the crack dealer. Like little things like that, and you're going to speak out to that. As a parent now, I would speak out if I saw something like that happening to my child was in that situation. And the fact that it cost him the relationship for who knows how many years.
Yeah, honestly, that revelation was so heartbreaking, dude, because you see the young man now, well, he's like our age, right? Or a little older. You see the guy now, you see his mom, and you see the emotions kind of pouring forth from this trauma that happened already 20-something years ago. And like the way she even describes it, like his body language changed. He grew up in that moment.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
To think about or hard to see as a parent. You know, last thing you want as a parent as your kid goes through, you know, you want to hold on to that innocence and that childhood as long as you can, and to have not even, you know, a moment that is a normal portion of life, a moment that somebody else cultivated, take that away from you and your child. It's just disgusting.
Yeah, it's interesting how
and heartbreaking.
Yeah, you're right. I couldn't put that better. It's interesting how a lot of parents came forward. I think there was that special case with that mom and that young lady that got a messed up message from that PA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That guy that had like a baby face that was like a Christian or whatever, and he wasn't.
Yeah, he was. Oh man, I gotta think of.
It was top tier sicko. It was bad.
Yeah, top tier sicko. I mean, probably the worst one out of the bunch. And now I can't think of his name, and I had it in here somewhere.
I mean,
because of course there's the main one that we'll get into here in a moment. But this one, I mean, you had him sending the emails to the little girl, and she just broke down, and it broke her. You know, took her out of the industry. At least she, you know, removed herself from the situation in a good way.
Yeah.
But still, to be put into that situation as a little girl.
Yeah, and like just to, at least the parent and the daughter were like cognizant enough to, you know, drop that then and there, because some people don't have a choice.
Yeah, or some people want the money and the fame so badly that they tell their children to suck it up, or and which is ridiculous.
Terrible, dude.
It's absolutely terrible, but it happens. So at least they were able to remove themselves from the situation before anything worse could transpire. I mean, even the things that happened were, again, horrible. To receive an email like that, I mean, and this is back in, you know, the late 90s, early 2000s. I mean,
the AOL days.
The dial-up days where you couldn't be on the phone, where you were getting those emails.
Like everything mattered back then because it was so new, you know? Like everything was just so new with communication, so people didn't really think about adults and kids talking to each other online. Like, I just thought it was like pen pal stuff. And you see people grow up in the age of the internet and have these kind of experiences, and it shapes the kind of parents that they eventually become. And yeah, I think I like the way the show ramps up like this. It kind of gives you examples of parents that have had firsthand accounts with their kids, and maybe they escaped a little bit more unscathed, but then you start really getting into the grit, into the dirty parts, and then you start kind of you start seeing like the whole like Amanda Bynes thing. Like I think that's the first real heavy case, right?
Yeah, that's where it kind of really starts to take that turn, where you see how destructive these relationships with these producers can become, and the will and the want to be great can cloud judgment, in a way. The Amanda Bynes thing was, she was she's 10 years old doing stand-up comedy at the Laugh Factory. And that's where she gets discovered.
Yeah, like a prodigy, like just somebody that had like a crazy work ethic as a kid. And you get that a lot, well, especially with like, you know, people with mental illness. They have like this crazy peak at the beginning, and it's so exploitable. And the heads of Nickelodeon were just at the, you know, the wrong place at the right time for this poor kid.
Yeah, man, the way she was catapulted, man, into stardom, into the spotlight at, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. You're not even talking like the main star on all that. That's where she kind of came in, but before you know it, she's got her own television show. I loved the Amanda Show growing up, man. The Amanda Show was hilarious, man. They're just skits on skits. It kept you entertained and glued to your TV as a 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old a kid. And to think that, number one, well, you know, at the beginning she was, at least it kind of looked like she was kind of genuinely enjoying it, but to think of, you know, the way
it all plays out, you see like see her eyes getting deader and deader, and then as her age and the pictures progress, you can just see that kind of behind there, the soul behind the eyes, as you say, you know, the windows of the soul. It's like it's kind of being sucked out of her, and some of the things that, you know, weird things like giving this grown man a neck rub or just alone time
massage,
and like weird stuff like that. Like,
always have it. Like they showed there was the one clip where it was actually on the show and they're in the hot tub together. It's Amanda and Dan Schneider. Like, that's weird. Like, and how does that not raise like a million red flags as a parent on set? But then they start to uncover that Amanda Bynes' parents weren't truly the best parents that you could probably have in that situation.
It's just like it's a failure on multiple sides for a kid's development. For, I don't know, like you see this young girl grow up really fast, and then she's probably worth like more than her parents at that point. She's got enough money to get houses and cars and stuff, and not really fully realize the gravity of the situation. Like, she's just, you know, she's always had that. She's probably always had like an agent, catering, and all that jazz. And Dan was just a piece of that. And then I think there's even like one little cryptic thing where she's like on a red carpet of sorts, and they ask her like, I don't even remember how they phrase the question, like, what's the negative thing about being in this industry? And then she says something to the effect of just people having to be a part of your personal life, and then she cuts it off. You know, she just she cuts it off really quickly, and you kind of realize that she had like a weird little slip in that moment.
Yeah, it's like, you know, she went off of the script that they gave her, and got a little too real personal in that line or in that interview as it was. But again, being hoisted into that spotlight and having to, you know, you're so scared. You're a kid. You're having to go through whatever it is to keep you there. And then her parents, like you said, she's the head of the household at 13 years old. And I think when you have those type of parents in those type of situations, it's just a recipe for disaster. Because what happens, you get put into these what are they, conservatorships? What are they called? Conservatorships, where they control like your complete aspect of life,
all your assets, and your money, your psychological health.
And it's hard to let that go when you get to be of age. Like, as a parent, when they turn 18, you're supposed to step back, and all that stuff that you were controlling, you're supposed to hand off to them. And I know Amanda, she went through some things. She tried to emancipate herself at 16, which Dan Schneider was, I guess, the lead behind.
Yeah.
Was really trying to get her emancipated. That's weird. Like, what are you trying to get this 16-year-old independent for?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And again, I don't think her parents had her best interest at heart. In the long term, I think it was very financially driven. Her development and her ability to be center stage or be in those situations where it's uncomfortable and demeaning, and
Yeah, like it's very valuable to have a private life. Like it's worth its weight in gold, man. Like, can you have a private life in your fame, in your limelight? Like, that's crazy to think about that. That's more valuable than any kind of sports car.
yeah, any house that you can get, any type
Any
of
experience, any view, like any status. Like, I think part of your mental development as a kid is having that time to discover yourself. But when everybody's telling you who you are and how to act, that's a recipe for disaster. That creates a nail tech with face tattoos.
man. But could you imagine, like, as a 14-year-old, all the stupid stuff that I did between 13 and like 17, 16, having it all blasted in the media. I mean,
Oh
of
my
course,
God.
social media became a thing,
Yeah.
but still, like, what you put on there, the things that you're putting on there, have paparazzi following your every move, can't go on your first date without somebody behind you, taking pictures and looking into those type of situations that you put yourself into. Every move that or decision that you make is scrutinized. Are you doing the right thing or the wrong thing? At 13 or 14, you're just doing things, and that's where you kind of learn. Of course, you learn right and wrong as a child, but once you're at that age, you're learning life's rights and wrongs, the things you can do, the things you shouldn't do. 16, 17-year-old, you know how many parties I went to and things I shouldn't have done, how many times I was supposed to be at one person's house, but I was at another
How much
person's
property
house.
damage, how many flip phones I broke. Like, geez, man. Yeah, you're right,
Like-
dude. That's something like that in a spotlight gets dealt with like 10. I remember like the kid from The Sopranos was like a bad kid, like the little boy or whatever. Like he got in
Mhm.
trouble for bringing a box cutter to school, and that was like a big public thing. Like stuff like that, you don't forget. And like, I don't think they forget. I don't think the kid who was in like Star Wars Episode 1 forgot like how he got treated at school after he was Anakin, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that sticks with you, man. And
Yeah, and it, like you said, it sticks with you mentally through life, and a lot of those experiences that you have at that age make or break your development into that young adulthood, and to not be able to dissect your own decisions and learn from your own decisions without the weight of your world on your shoulders. I mean, it's a recipe for disaster. And then you add in the parental factor that she had to deal with, add in the Schneider factor that she had to deal with on a
Schneider factor.
day-to-day basis. I mean, she was seeing that guy every day, man, like
Yeah.
every day of her life.
yeah,
For years and years. And then she branches out right away from Nickelodeon, and she's on the shows. It's on like the CW or whatever.
follows her.
And he still follows her, and he's still a critical part of her life. And then they kick him off of that show for basically that reason of trying to control it
Yep.
and promote her in an unnatural and unhealthy way. And it for a long time, man, I've thought of Amanda Bynes as just, another one of those Hollywood kids that ended up being a screw up.
Yeah.
But you learn a little bit of the underlying factors that she had to go through on a day-to-day basis, and it brings a different level of respect to her. And I don't want to say pity, but I do feel bad for her, man. Like, I feel bad for her and the way that she had to grow and develop.
Puts her in the same light as like Corey Feldman. Like everybody thought was nuts for a long time, and he still is
Mhm.
weird. But like that's what happens with the child stars, man. Like they all end up like that, and it's a trend. And sorry, Gracie's a little grumpy right now. She's mad. Like she wants attention, dude. What do you want, Gracie?
Not right now.
Yeah, dude, we're working.
busy.
We're working. It's because of the child labor laws. I've been working her too hard. She's been getting too many pats on the belly.
Too many belly pats.
Oh man, but Amanda Bynes, shout out. Hope whatever is going on in your life right now is more fulfilling than the crap that you went through as a kid. So we're very sincerely sorry you had to grow up so fast. we hope, as a potential father and as a father, speaking on behalf of both of us, that the things that happen to our little ones can create a better future for those types of situations, because every person was a child at one time, and this show kind of highlights that. And it's funny how you talk about development, because remember that costume designer on that show that was talking about Dan, like, said he had an arrested development.
Mm-hmm.
Like, said that he kind of always was like the fat kid in school, wanted to get with the cheerleader and all that stuff. Like, it stems from that. Like, I think abusers got abused, which we'll get into this next individual. Like, okay, so we get Amanda. It's very stunning. It's like, oh my God, what's going on? All these revelations, and then they talk about a lawsuit that happened back then that nobody knew about. And they talk about a table read that happened, all that, and everybody's looking around trying to figure out, like, why are these lawyers telling us that there was a case going on, trying to figure out who did it. And then lo and behold, that episode ends and Drake Bell's sitting on a chair.
Sits down in his chair. I was watching it with my wife, and they were talking about it, and then he comes in, and she was, oh no, covered her mouth.
Oh
like,
man,
oh my goodness, no.
Yeah.
Like, you can hear the pain in her voice, of realizing of who she's talking about. And that sit down that they were talking about, just before we dive into this,
yeah,
another thing that I just found very disturbing is that they ask all the parents to leave the room.
Yeah, what was up with that?
Before they delivered that information.
Yeah, that
I found that ridiculous.
Yeah, that there's no situation where kids can get removed from their parents, and like, even if it's like an announcement for what lunch is gonna be, like, unless you're talking about a birthday party for one of the parents or something, like, that's not worth not sharing with the parents. And what the hell did the kids like say to their parents? I'm pretty sure some of them did.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the first thing I'm gonna do when I get out of that room.
Yeah.
I'm just go,
Yeah.
and it's a sexual assault case. You're gonna pull the parents out of the room to talk about a sexual assault case. That's ridiculous.
And then Dan Schneider's gonna pretend like he had no involvement in it when he was the one that pulled all the strings for it to be announced.
Hired that guy.
Yeah, like, man,
you run it,
dude.
man.
Like, there's nothing that flies past like the leader. But yeah, we get Drake Bell. We get him in the spotlight for this next episode, and that's heavy too, man. I love Drake and Josh. Like, it's so crazy that a guy that worked on
shows.
like, man, he's big in Mexico too. He went by Drake Campana for a little bit. Like,
yeah, they said that he had a rock single just as that show was dropping, and it was like number one in Mexico.
Mexico's got love
in the show.
Yeah, they got mad love for Drake Bell for no reason, just because he fits like a look. He's like, I don't know, Mexicans love some emo boys. Like, that's what it is. And he was just a part of that wave. Like,
that's how he was rocking out, man. Yeah. He was all in it, man. He was all in it, man. But you get Drake in that chair, and I don't know. It's like that feeling that my wife had. It twists. It brings a whole nother, like, because you know about Amanda Bynes.
Yeah.
Her downfall has been well documented,
Mm-hmm.
even though a lot of this wasn't put in there. But you get Drake Bell in there, and it's just like a shock factor. And they bring him and his father into the
story,
into the fray.
Yeah.
And I do want to give, I guess, a little bit of kudos to his dad, I think Joe Schmo, into it. But just regardless of what happened later, just the fact that, all this seemed to stem from him trying to find something to do with his son.
Yeah.
After a divorce, I give some kudos too, because, a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, like,
a lot of dads don't try to have that connection or relationship after that.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you, him looking like Ricky Bobby's dad did him no favors. Like, for real, it's like some slimy NASCAR guy. He seems like a good parent though, and it's
he seemed he seemed like he tried, right?
Dude. And he was so proud about talking like about Drake's accolades when he was a young man or was a little kid, like, being on Seinfeld and Jerry Maguire. I didn't know he was that kid that didn't throw the finger.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like a Pokemon commercial. I remember that Pokemon commercial. Like,
yeah, so do I.
Echoed in the back of my mind. I was like, oh my God, that was Drake Bell.
All those cobwebs got dusted off. You're like, wow, that was Drake.
Yeah, dude.
Before I knew he was Drake.
Yeah, dude. We're not talking about Drizzy Drake, which is another issue, but no, we're talking about Drake Bell, the original Drake.
The original Drake. Yeah, I give you that. The original Drake there, man. And the way he got his shot, going through the commercials to finally getting his big break on the Amanda Show. Totally Caught was like one of my favorite skits on the Amanda Show, man. One time, saw a spider.
And I was like, whoa, spider.
And he was like, Kyle. And he was even laughing when he was talking about it, man. That's how great it was, man. And the things that that he was able to accomplish there, and to learn that through all that,
there's darkness.
Those great times that he was giving us, there was so much darkness that he was going through with his abuser.
Yeah, dude.
Brian Peck.
Yeah, Brian Peck. Let's name that freak. And I don't speak like lightly on stuff like that. I don't really chastise people, but that guy was just sick and a degenerate.
That's just, there's a certain line. I mean, everybody does. There's good and evil in everybody, but there's just a line when it comes to the kids, man. Yeah. And you talk to anybody who's ever been, like locked up.
They don't treat
those guys get. They ain't getting no type of love or any type of. Yeah, it's just you're coming out of there bloodied and battered, man. If you're one of those type of people,
their safety is on short order after that. But yeah, the whole thing with Brian Peck and like him separating him from his father and putting him in the perfect situation just to like do all those horrible things to him. And Drake can't talk about it, but the legal documents flash and it shows you some very graphic descriptions of things and makes you feel bad. And you could tell that he's had that in his heart for a long time. And given the context of the individual, he's had some troubles of his own. Even then he speaks on like how he got ostracized from Hollywood like about a year ago with that whole text messaging thing, like how he pleaded guilty to something that didn't happen. In one of the interviews he even says like, this bums me out because I haven't shared this with anybody, but how I was brought up in Hollywood reflects something like this, and that's all he leaves it at. And this was like over a year ago.
And this it goes back to the development piece, man. It's or the abuser piece, like you said, abused becomes the abuser. It's a cycle, and that's how the life goes.
Yeah,
or how life goes.
Yeah, and he's not innocent completely. Like I think the allegations against him for that, I think were mishandled, and I think he did walk away with justice on his side. I'll just put it at that. I'm not taking anyone's side, but I think justice was served in that case. But there's other stuff about him too from his ex-girlfriends. He's got a sheet. He's got his own personal rap sheet for his traumas. And I think that's what happens. Abusers get abused. And like, yeah, well, this is a kind of a redeeming piece for him. You can't forget like all the other stuff around these people. And yeah, that's
no, you absolutely can't. But you can
understand.
I don't know. For me, at least, you can understand exactly. Yeah. You can understand. But back to the horrible person that put him into those situations as a young 14, 15-year-old kid, the amount of manipulation and control that he was able to possess over that child's life is just ridiculous, man. Like you said, he drove a wedge between him and his father. Your dad shouldn't be managing you. So calculated. And the dad said that he went to people and they tried to call him homophobic and things of that nature because he was worried about his son. And that just brings such a deep level of pain to me, man. As a father, it just hurts.
Yeah, dude, that's hard because I'm starting to see that in my personal life too. Like you have like a shiny star of a child. And you know that they bring light and happiness into every situation. There's just somebody around that's like a vampire. And you want to try your best to remove him from the situation. Yeah, it's terrible. Like there are real vampires in this world. And they're the ones that ruin people. And he was one of those kind of people. I mean, there was all these signs. Like he had his weird childlike home with toys and stuff. And he had his letters.
He was the one that had the letters from the serial killer.
From John Wayne Gacy, like the guy who killed little boys. Like,
Yeah.
Nuts.
Like ridiculous. Just ridiculous. And for him to show people that when they talked about that and him to show pride in that and to show everybody that was at the party and then nobody kind of like it's that doesn't make a lot of sense. Connect the dots there.
Like it's almost like,
something that
like it's cute, like it's kitschy, like it's Holly weird or whatever. Like it's a cute name for it, but it's just sick, No,
it's disturbing. Yeah. It's absolutely disturbing. Yeah. And for people to just brush it off there, and then all the manipulation, the trip to Disneyland that they talked about, and things like that.
That's crazy.
That was always taking. I mean, a little kid to Disneyland. I want to go to Disneyland. I've never been. I would love to go. I'm fucking 30. Like, like you want to go to Disneyland? Yeah, I'm hopping in the van, bro. Let's go.
There's no windows,
but
tight. Oh man.
But again, not to make light on such
Yeah.
a serious situation, but the amount of manipulation and the patience, like, that is needed to find your prey in the specific situation, because you have to separate him from the dad, you have to make him feel comfortable around you, you have to find a way to get his mother to allow you to have him in that time. That's one person I really wish they would have, even if it would have been a 5-minute talk, got some type of say out of, is the mom. But I guess you really don't want to put your name on it or your face on it if
She's the one who made the judgment call.
exactly, if it was your fault, or not, for a lack of better words. It's not, you didn't make this person do this, but you let your child be in that situation. And I wish we could have heard from her, just to kind of shed some light on her train of thought, because you've got a 14, 15-year-old boy staying the night at this grown man's house because he's got the job that he does every day to do tomorrow, or a gig or something that he does. It doesn't make any sense. And then the father specifically says that he told the mother not to allow Peck to be around his son alone. And it seems like that warning just got completely either forgotten or disregarded.
Yeah, and it goes to show you that optics are everything, right? Like, like framing a man like that in a certain light makes his opinion not valid. And once again, I'm gonna say him looking like Ricky Bobby's dad did not do him no favors, man. Like, if he at least cut the mustache off, he might have been a little bit more legitimate.
Trim up the mullet, a little bit something. I don't know, man.
But still, like, can you imagine like a good parent, like a decent parent? Like, yeah, parents are complicated, man. Like, you find that out real
It's
quick.
hard.
Yeah, but like somebody that cares at least is putting you a notch above any other one that doesn't. And he just didn't genuinely care, and he saw the signs, he saw the writing on the wall, and he saw the individuals playing that game. And like, even then, Drake didn't have the heart to tell his dad that he was the victim. And like that hurt to hear, like when he called him up and just nonchalantly put his actor voice on, like, they got him. Who was it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, in that moment you grow up when you have to like give your parent a white lie so it doesn't break their heart.
Yeah, you're protecting the parent instead of the parent protecting
That's sad,
you.
man.
And that is sad. And to have to do that again, I'm a grown man now. I have no problem stepping up and doing that, but to have to do that at 15 or 16, it's hard.
Yeah, that's,
and it can scar you for life. Just little, not to mention all the other things that you had to deal with, but just having to callous up and be that person.
yeah, keep it.
It can make you a different person moving forward from that conversation that you have.
Life doesn't stop.
And then, not exactly. The lie has to continue for at least a little bit of time before the truth always comes to light. But there's who knows? I mean, that he was 15. Who knows how old he was when his dad finally figured out what was going on.
Yeah.
There, and as you dive into that, you have the actual trial itself, or the prosecution of Brian Peck, and that alone is even more disturbing to me than anything. Okay, famous Hollywood guy gets 16 months in jail. Okay, stuff like that happens all the time, unfortunately. But
to end up getting so many letters of recommendation from like freaking Superman, and like
so much support.
Yeah, so much support, and then phrasing things in an ugly way too, like he was tempted and all that stuff. Like, what the hell? Like,
he's gone through the suffering of 100 men,
what? Like,
throughout this process. Like, what are you talking about?
That's so I don't even know what the word is. That's so disingenuous, and it's so unjust for the victim in that case. Like, what the hell? Like, a little kid. Like, what temptation is there? Like,
yeah, I mean, he's a little kid. Like,
yeah,
know your boundaries, bro. You're a grown man.
a lot of sighing right now. I'm like, I'm just like disgusted by this whole thing.
It is like puts a nasty taste in your mouth just thinking about it. And then I just feel for Before I go into that, shout out to whoever his girlfriend's mom was.
The therapy.
That realized really quickly what was going on and got him into therapy and was able to bring the situation to light, because honestly, without that intervention from really a random stranger, and it's not a stranger, it's your girlfriend's mom, but I mean, you're 15 years old, your girlfriend's mom, like,
take somebody removed from the situation to see,
it, but to put your foot down in that and not just send them back home and say, hey, you need to talk to your mom about this, or you need to bring this up to your mom, to take immediate and swift action, is what it seemed like, or how they portrayed it within the docuseries. I don't know how long it took to go from that day at their house where he was blowing him up, trying to take him to Disneyland, to actually getting him into therapy, to getting the police involved and having that sting set up over the phone.
Yeah, we don't really know the time frame, and that's disturbing. And then it all comes to a head in this weird court case, or this court scene where there's unnameable people in the crowd, and you have to hear from this young man talking about him when he was a kid, talking about the faces that he was shocked to see there in defense of Brian Peck.
Can you imagine the way he said it? It was just me
and my mom,
me and my mom on this side of the courtroom, and then you had an entirely full and packed courtroom on the other side in support.
Yeah, Nickelodeon
for this person
on the other side. Like, damn, dude.
I think he had deeper than Nickelodeon,
for
man.
sure.
He had the industry, you had people in there that, different movies and shows, and I'm sure you had different producers from different networks and things there to show support, which for me would make me like, okay, so you are supporting this man. What did you do? What are you doing?
What is this cabal that I'm seeing,
Yeah. Like, what's really going on here? But I guess that's Hollywood, man. I mean, the secrets of Hollywood don't stop here and probably get way worse than what we're talking about, unfortunately. And what we're talking about is despicable and unimaginable. And to think that for this to come to light, it's probably just the tip of the iceberg of things that are going on in that community.
Yeah, I mean, it starts from a small bubble of children's entertainment. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because we got a couple of other people that have recently come to light. I mean, we got a Sean Puff Daddy Combs.
The Diddler.
Yeah, otherwise known as the Diddler, has fled.
There we go.
Man has fled to the Caribbean, like where he cannot get.
He's back in Miami now.
Oh, no way. Now. Okay.
Yeah. There were some pictures, I guess, of him like by his pool dancing and smoking a cigarette. But he fled. Like, if that's not the ultimate admission of guilt, in my opinion. Like, it's not like you were doing a show in the Caribbean, bro. Don't nobody book you for shows no more, did he? Like, like, you weren't out there doing a show. You ran away, man.
Yeah, took the love jet.
But the private jet, there's no passport stamps. There's no tickets. It was just his jet. So it's all speculation at this point. But that man was on that plane, and he was out there in the Caribbean, probably touched down in Cuba, trying not to get, no charges yet. Let me go back to Miami. But keep that plane gassed up.
Yep.
Just in case.
Yeah, we got stuff coming down the pipeline for those revelations. This is going to be pretty much this whole thing in real time, and it's going to break open the rap industry. And 50's like right on the cusp of it. Petty ass 50's
right on top of that.
He got legal custody of his kid because of the whole thing. So something nice did happen out of all this. So
yeah, because his mom was sex trafficking for the Diddler.
Dude, I don't even want to bring up 50 because he's going to start beefing with us, man. Like, shout out. Oh,
man, yeah.
We love you.
Leave me out of it, Fifth. Leave me out of it. I ain't doing nothing.
For sure. We're on your side, bro.
Just talking about it.
Blood on the Sand was the greatest video game of all time. That's all. I'll just say.
Hey, I had that video game. I did have that game.
Hell yeah. That's tight.
My Uncle Byron bought me that. Shout out Uncle Byron.
Oh, man.
He bought me that. I was like 8 or 10. What year did Get Rich or Die coming out? Was that 03? So this video game probably came out 03, 04? Yeah, I was like 10 years old playing that game, sitting here selling crack on the street.
Dude, G-Unit stays winning in that whole regard. But
oh, dude, all that money.
Oh, man. But to bring it back to Puff, like, dude, all that stuff, too, in the adult thing. Like, we had J-Lo carrying a gun into a nightclub, allegedly. Like...
Oh, yeah, that whole thing. And then Shine went down for that. His homie got 9 years in jail for that whole incident with him and somebody else getting into it at the club. Had J-Lo crying and bawling out in jail all night. I mean, the charges got dropped, but that's Hollywood, right? What? Okay, like, you really think Shine was the one that did all that? Nah, that's just somebody taking the fall for the powerful person.
Yeah, bro.
For the powerful person.
Like, they just had like a mobster mentality, and they carried it into this whole thing, and then we got these crazy like sexual allegations against him, and you see the way he looks at Meek Mill in videos, and it all comes together too. It's like all in plain sight, man. Like, this Hollywood thing is bigger than like little bubbles. It's a big bubble, you know. It just has different.
And it seems to be a big bubble that's on the verge of popping here, man. Cat Williams called it.
Yeah, dude. Shout out Cat, dude. He said this is the year of truth, man. I think
and he wasn't lying, man. And he wasn't lying. Just look at all the stuff that's coming to light. Coming out here. But I have a question for you. Why now?
You're right.
What's changed? I mean, from the early 2000s going through the 2010s to now we're in 2024, and all of this stuff is being brought to light. What's changed, or why now? Why do you think?
I'm trying to think of like when I was a kid and like one of the first big docuseries came out. It was the Michael Jackson one. Remember that one, like Return to Neverland, or was it? There was one before, the one where the guy filmed him with the little kid with cancer holding hands and all that stuff. Like, they just put him in a bad, naive light. It was the same like baby dangling documentary. Like, remember we held his kid out the window. Like, that was like a crazy expose.
Yeah.
I think there's been stuff before, but that's the one that comes into memory for me. And it shows like a side to like heroes that we had. Like, Michael Jackson was like a hero, dude. He had video games. Like, he was in Disney rides. Like, he was the man, you know?
Yeah. Not leaving Neverland. I'm trying to think or find
I think
out.
it was called Return to Neverland or something. But that was like the follow-up series. Something. But yeah, there was that Michael Jackson, the first one, what ended up kind of like really putting him in a bad light. Made him kind of like, they started bringing up the whole Wacko Jacko thing, all that. You know, like that starts there, in my opinion, in the 2000s. I mean, we have R. Kelly, we have Bill Cosby, like Vinnie Mac, dude. Like, wrestling's on a resurgence right now, because like Triple H is running the show again, and all the people in the back are loving what they're doing. And
yeah, there's a lot of change going on in wrestling, but like Vinnie Mac coming to light and having to step away from that. I think a lot of Raw's resurgence, though, not to get off on a super side tangent, it like being able to go on, I think you said this, Netflix. You were saying it's on Netflix now, so you don't have those you're not going to have those TV ratings and the guidelines of public, or not public television, but you know what I mean.
I think this
to have to deal with.
I think that kind of tells us why these things are happening, because I think Hollywood's not as important as a location anymore. I think the internet is more like the state of mind for entertainment right now. So it doesn't all have to, you know, be in California with backlots and studios and agents and all this stuff, because we've come to find that in the last 10 years, you can just make a cool video. You could become famous, and you could turn into Mr. Beast, or you could turn into, you know, like any of the other ones. Pick your favorite person YouTuber. Like, some of them transcend into like mass media. And I think that's where it's coming from. And, you know, even then, there's circles of entertainment that are still always going to be messed up. But I think, you know, the original place of where it all started is there's like a schism there right now. And I think that's all coming to light, because they're showing that the dark side of the industry is real. And I think maybe there's more financial incentive to have all these media conglomerates not lean on individuals that have liability problems, and where they actually have just more talent scouts out there that are finding people just, you know, in the middle of nowhere, making videos, making music.
I think a lot of it also has to do with, I mean, the internet, like you said, and being able to create the stars, but the internet also giving people who aren't stars, everyday people, such a, you know, a voice. You're talking conglomerate of people now can go for or against you in a heartbeat. And then when you talk about the prominent stars whose past has brought them down, the Bill Cosbys, the R. Kellys, a lot of that comes from people being able to, you know, first access the information freely. Those things that they're talking about, it's not just on, you know, e-news tonight, you hear about it for 5 minutes and then it's gone. It's on your timeline constantly, those accusations or those things that are happening, and people are able to voice their opinion on that. And when you have public opinion against you in such a way, it brings the hammer down a little more heavily than it would in the past. The tying that back to like the Brian Peck thing,
Yeah.
I think if that whole situation were to unfold today,
Be quick.
I don't think you would. I don't think you would see as many stars come out in support for him, because these are letters that are sealed by the court for a long period of time in the support for him. I don't think you're going to see that support come out, because all it takes is for a leaked email, right? Because now it's going to be a little bit more digital.
Yep.
That leaked email gets out, and now people know that you're in support of a child molester, and there goes your career as well. And I think the public opinion that would surround it would cause for a longer sentence. I mean, look at Bill Cosby and R. Kelly. Those dudes
They're done.
They're done. If Diddy gets actually prosecuted for the crimes that they're investigating him for, like, I think that's it. His bodyguard said that he thinks that if Diddy actually has to go to jail for this, he'd take his own life before going to jail for the rest of his life. Like, it gets dark, man. And I think the internet shines a light onto the darkness in a way that we were unable to do in the past. I don't think my mom or my grandma, who I was living with at the time when I was watching Drake and Josh and all that, and surfing the TV Guide channel to see what was coming on next back in those days, knew about any of this. I don't think it was in the news or in public opinion or the public spotlight.
That's what they gave us. Like, there was no kind of 60-minute segment. That's all we got. We got exposés in 60 minutes. You got little trickles of stuff when it really, really got out of hand. But yeah, public opinion on the internet really drives things forward quicker than the legal system does. Like, public opinion is king right now. Like, the way
they trademarked No Diddy, bro. That's a trade. Somebody trademarked that, man. Some random rapper out of Pennsylvania trademarked that. He owns that word or that phrase now.
Yeah, like, this is a very informed society right now. Like, everybody's litigious. Everybody is business minded. Like, you could just pick up all these things from Wikipedia if you really studied for a little bit. And for better or worse, informed, misinformed. You could just skew your own opinions on stuff. But the fact that there's a sheer number of individuals that still speak up, and even then, we got this dead internet thing we're gonna get into one day. Like, who's to say that these conglomerates don't pull strings in their way too with this thing? But the way that we perceive the internet, it's a tide pool of people that are talking. At least that's what it looks like on the surface for us, and that really sways a bunch of stuff, man. Decisions, trends, crap that I buy on Amazon.
Elections. There's a lot of things that you can sway. What you buy, what you think about buying. There's a lot of way that you can persuade people now, and I think the internet has brought a lot of this to light. I mean, just look at Quiet on Set. Just all the traction that it's gained. We're talking about it. There's a lot of people that have talked about it. They even had Dan Schneider ended up with on a podcast with one of the guys from iCarly, trying to defend himself at the end of all this. Even though we're still in the middle of it, or the midst of it, I guess there are still 2 episodes to premiere. But
what else are they gonna say?
The internet gave him where else is he gonna get a platform right now but the internet? That's the only one that he can really get through on there. So I feel the internet is transcending Hollywood secrets slowly but surely.
It's been there.
The year of truth. Yeah, but it has.
They kind of called the few people that talked about it crazy. Until I guess there's like irrefutable proof now where you're right. Like, it's water cooler talk every other week about who's crazier. Like, we love watching dumpster fires. That's our new society. We live vicariously through all these things, and we'll deal with the consequences later, man. Even if we're not right. That's the unfortunate part. Like, yes, there's a lot of stuff that is meaning well and doing good and shining light to stuff that has gone unjustly justified or unjustified. But we have other stuff too that's just straight up lies. So I don't think we're quite at a place where we can distinguish that right away, but we do go with the flow, and we do go with the crowds, and we do make those decisions and ostracize people for different things. And in some cases it's righteous, and other kinds of times it's like uncalled for and unjust. But just goes to show you, just be careful. Like, be careful in your world. Treat people good. First and foremost, live by the golden rule. Don't sleep over at P. Diddy's house.
He got cameras watching you.
Don't hang out with the Buc-ee's heir as well in that same sentiment. And just,
I forgot about that.
I forgot about that. I went to Buc-ee's this weekend too. I was like, you know what? And I went to another place called the Texan, which was like a copy of it. I was like, I don't feel as guilty, but damn, the prices are way better at Buc-ee's. So I kept going to Buc-ee's.
There you go.
Oh man, but
just watch out for them cameras in the restroom.
It was
cameras in the restroom, cameras at the dealer's house.
Ugh, I don't know, man. The information age has brought too much information, and we're overloaded. So
yeah,
just
that's true.
If you have anything,
information overload.
If you have anything to say to the masses that are flowing in the ocean with us, my statement would be just go touch some grass, put the phone down, listen to our show.
Yeah, that's a good. Go touch some grass. I love that. Yeah, go on a hike. Go do something. Put the phone down, man. Turn Twitter off, or X, or Facebook. Disconnect your VPN if you're in Texas, so you don't have access to the hub for a little bit, and go live life, man. There's nothing better than that. One thing we did, we talked about it at the top of the show. My wife's birthday, we went on a hike, man, like a 2-mile hike, and it was beautiful to kind of disconnect and get away from the world and go out there in nature and reconnect with our roots, right? Because information age has disconnected us from the roots of being just basic hunter-gatherer type folks.
Yeah, and like, just quick thing before we kind of wrap it up. There was a lot of stuff going on this weekend in my life too, like with the game, with the Easter, all these little things. Not little things, big things. And there's no chance to breathe. And finally, when I got home, I got the most beautiful gift of all from the universe, man. I opened my bedroom window blinds, and right at the little tree next to my bedroom, there's a cardinal nest there, man. There's a mama bird, like raising some baby birds. It's going to happen. I'm going to get to watch that whole thing, and I'm privileged to have been chosen by nature to witness that. And I think that's beautiful.
That's absolutely
that puts everything in perspective for me. I don't know why it's just a stupid little bird making stupid little eggs, but for me that was my Easter basket, man. That was beautiful. So thank you, universe.
Those are your Easter eggs.
Yeah, dude.
Easter eggs from the universe.
Yeah. But I think with that we're gonna roll the outro. You ready?
Let's roll, man.
So thanks everybody for listening. You can catch us on social media. You can hit us up at Wave of the Few Shore, and that's on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and YouTube. And on X, formerly known as Twitter, you can message us at WFS Show. If you want to drop us a line, go ahead and send us an email over at waveofthefewshore@gmail.com. You can find me on, TikTok. So you can find me at Wavy Carr. That's Carr with 2 R's. You can also send a little bit of money to my Cash App. I'm just saying, Wavy Carr. Get a couple bucks, might show some feet. Anyway.
And you can find him on Feet Finder at Wavy Carr. But you can find me on X at Marshall on Mics, and on the IG of Marshall on Mics 3. And as always, nothing but peace, love, and happiness, and only one word. Send us out.
Peace.
Peace.